Good afternoon, guys. Sorry this isn't live. I wanted to do live, but I more heavily wanted to do screen share here. So doing hopefully a quick recording. I posted this picture a few days ago, earlier this week, and I had a handful of questions come back. So I wanted to explain this a little bit more. If you've kind of gathered from most of my posts, I'm very much about personalizing and doing like the mediate or release test to figure out how to calm your symptoms really quickly and do like a GI map and other labs to figure out what the actual root cause problem is. However, in certain cases, there are some generic diet styles and therapeutic diets you can try just to start managing symptoms. And low FODMAPs, one of them. Others are like doing a keto, doing a paleo, doing the autoimmune diet, like a specific carbohydrate diet. So there's a different set of varieties. They're all different lists of foods with different specific little nuances. And again, I would normally recommend personalizing, but for people who can't afford these programs right now or aren't ready to kind of dive into that full investment, this is a potential sort of starting point for people. So what this is, so low FODMAPs diet, we'll start with who should try it. So first of all, if you have GI issues like bloating, gas, IBS, and just you haven't even tried any sort of dietary fix up, this might be one thing. I would say if you start with the basic food list I have in the file section, that's a bigger list. And it does help a lot of people because it's taking out some common problems like gluten, dairy, sugar, processed foods. I use that in the 7-day challenges, and a lot of people will notice less bloating, more energy, better sleep within a week or two, depending how strictly they adhere to it. So that would be like step one. Now, if you find that that's not working, another option would be to take it a step further and niche it down even further, restrict it down even further to the low FODMAPs diet. So the low FODMAP diet was created by Monash University with their goal to help ease symptoms. It is not about treating it. It's not about fixing it. It's not about finding the root cause. It's meant to just be a temporary thing to help you feel better. Now, for some people doing this diet, just because you're cleaning it up, you are getting rid of dairy and gluten, like certain forms of dairy and gluten and junk food, high fructose corn syrup, that kind of stuff. Again, just that general cleanup for some people is enough, because you shouldn't be on this diet for more than 2 to 6 weeks. That's not the point. If you can't get off of this diet, that's not the issue. You need to find out what that root cause is. So kind of step one, I'd say just do the general food list. If that doesn't work, step two, do this. Step three, if that doesn't work and you can't get off of it, you need to test, find out what is going on. So what this list is typically low FODMAPs. What that stands for, so all the foods that they are removing are foods that are high in these foods, FODMAP, well, MPs. So fermentable things, oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. So these are components of foods, mostly kind of a starchy chain and carby things that bacteria like to eat. Now, when the bacteria is in the correct place in your colon, we want to feed them. We want to feed good, healthy things to your healthy bacteria in your colon. But if they get into your small intestine, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, SIBO, then when these foods get through your system, or the foods you eat that contain these components, as they get digested and move into the small intestine, if there's bacteria there where they shouldn't be, they like to eat these things. This is their food. And like you and me, sometimes when we eat fibrous type foods and we digest, we have the byproduct of gas. Bacteria do the same thing. Think of it like bacteria farting in your intestines. Let's go with it. That's what's happening, basically. There's byproduct. And the problem is when that happens in your small intestine, it kind of gets trapped there. There's nowhere for it to go. It doesn't move through there quickly. So that's why a lot of people with IBS will have like that gas and that bloating. And it can lead to constipation or diarrhea, kind of depending on what specific types of bacteria are there, whether they're producing methane or hydrogen types things. So in removing these foods, the idea is that you are starving those bacteria, so they will stop creating those byproducts and you will therefore have fewer symptoms. The old theory was, oh, if you just do this long enough, you starve the bacteria. We've learned in recent years that's not the case at all. These bacteria just kind of go into hibernation mode for a lot of people. So then once you start to reintroduce these foods, you start to have those symptoms again. Therefore, you have not dealt with that root cause. You need to get tested to find out, do you have SIBO? Do you have other bacterial dysbiosis issues? What's going on that's keeping you from being able to eat healthy whole foods? So real quick to kind of point out, one of the other questions was, how does this compare if you have done the MRT test? So kind of the reminder, the MRT is based on your immune system response. It is how your white blood cells are responding to food. It means there's damage to your GI lining, food is interacting with your bloodstream down to like microscopic components, and your immune system is having an inflammatory response. This is different because it's not about the immune system, it's about bacteria. So if you are doing this food list, is usually more related to where in your GI system is the bacteria and what type is it. So kind of one is a bacterial component, one is an inflammatory immune system component. So if you did want to try this list, I know this is not all inclusive, Monash University has a great app. It's $8 or $9, so not too bad. You can Google and look for websites and cookbooks and all sorts of things, and most of them are probably going to be pretty good. Just Monash is kind of the route where all the research is being done. But if you go to their website, again, I want to drive this home because this is kind of an important thing that a lot of doctors even now miss. I have a lot of GI doctors who are like, yeah, I put my person on a FODMAP diet and the end, that's it. Oops, I didn't mean their app. I wanted to go to their actual webpage. But they kind of say on here specifically, yeah, it's basically the goal is just managing your symptoms. So I want to remind you, following this protocol is not treating the problem. It is managing your symptoms. And for 50% of people, you need to find that root cause. I believe it was 50%. Cannot get off of this diet after 6 weeks. So you can use the app to get started. Again, this is a starting point, but they have a lot of good stuff. If you go, you can see they've got this app. There's a little video you can watch that goes through it, but real quickly, just to kind of show you. They have a food guide. They kind of talk about what is IBS, what are these foods, what's going on. They've got some recipes, you can keep like a food log and everything. And then when you're looking for foods, like is it allowed or not, you can search based on category, what's going on. And you're going to see these different colored circles. Here's where it gets tricky. So just to start, the general idea is you want to avoid the red, and even at first avoid the yellow, kind of in your strict phases at the beginning. Green is going to be okay. So these big things here. But the cautious part, because they do find that some of those FODMAP chemicals, those carbs, those sugars, can be okay in smaller amounts. So you can see like avocado, for example, 30 grams is considered okay, 45 is considered risky, and 80 grams of avocado is considered high, avoid it. It's because the bigger the serving size, the more of that component or that sugar is going to be in there, and the higher the risk. So you're going to see that for a lot of things. And you're always going to want to check that. So you're going to have to monitor your portion sizes, and you're going to want to kind of keep skimming this, really give yourself time to learn it. This is why a lot of people don't do well with your typical GI doctors. Just give you like a list of food. Maybe I've seen people who they'll meet with a dietitian once and then kind of, peace out, good luck. It really is helpful if you are struggling to get a coaching package with a dietitian, spend a couple weeks working through it, getting help, using cookbooks, that kind of thing. And or just get the app. Like to me, this app, it was very helpful to get you going on all that. But for some people, it's still overwhelming. So the other thing that gets tricky, once you get through kind of a reset phase, you can start to look, again, remember, there's different types of things that we're looking for, different types of sugars that we're looking for. So when you click on something, for example, avocado, these are the different types of sugars: fructose, lactose, mannitol, fructose, GOS, sorbitol. So avocado is high in sorbitol, and that's the problem. So some people can begin, if you're really diligent with your food diary and your symptom logs, you can start to figure out which component of that FODMAPs are you struggling with. And again, that's going to depend what type of bacteria is overgrown in the small intestine, if it is SIBO, and if that's the root cause. Not always. It can be histamine, it can be mast cell, it can be other things, tons of things that can go on in the GI. But that's kind of the starting point if you want to do more guess and check. So as you click on each food item on this app, it then shows you what components are kind of high, medium, or low within that food. And again, you got to pay attention to serving size, because that sorbitol is what's so high in that half an avocado that gives it that red indicator. Versus if you just have a quarter avocado, your sorbitol amount is going to be less, so you might be more tolerant of it. Or if you just have 1/8 of an avocado, it's so minimal, they consider it a safe food. So you're going to have to check that for all of these. I remember Brussels sprouts being the one that just kind of blew my mind, because at the time, they've updated their app since I did my work through this. But Brussels sprouts was green until I clicked on it. And then it's like, oh, serving size is two sprouts. It's like, are you kidding me? Nobody eats just 2 sprouts, assuming you like Brussels sprouts, which I do. So it does get nuanced. It does get tricky, but it can be, for about 50% of people, it can be very helpful to go through the diet, go through the elimination, check out Monash's website. They're going to have all sorts of help for you as well. Might be able to help get you started. So I hope that answers the questions, and let me know if that made it more confusing or if that helped sort of answer things. So Andy and I did a Gutsy Gals check that's going to get converted into, a Gutsy Gals chat that's going to get converted into a new gut check podcast episode that'll be on Spotify and other locations. But I can get you that original one that she and I did. It's goes through, we talk about all these different like therapeutic diets, if a doctor prescribes a diet, what the differences are, what they're helpful for, but they all have that underlying premise. What is the end game? You should never be on a restricted diet for life. So figure out that root cause. What is going on? So, all right, I'll put that link below in case you want to check that video out that she and I did. So otherwise, you guys have an awesome afternoon, and I will talk with you later.